Disclaimer: I unfortunately have either only played a little bit of these horror games or haven't been able to play every game that's on this list. So please put any comments down below if you feel like my diagram isn't really true.
I've got a choice to make, it's easy as can be. I see a lot of faces, but only one from me. I want to impress you, baby, from across the screen. Put on my Sunday best, call me the war machine.
It's your way I'm looking. I'm like, were you Hadouken? Yeah, you've caught my eye. Now I've got to try to get you, baby, on my side. I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride. It's plain to see this ain't a game to me.
But baby, you're my destiny. I want to take you, I want to take you for a ride.
Oh, it's awful, baby, with your curly sash. I work you harder than a button mash. It's save on moment number 37. Give you that touch of death until you're up in heaven.
This ain't a game to me, baby. No, it's only you that can save me. Yeah, you caught my eye. Now I've got to try to get you, baby, on my side.
I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride.
Plain to see this ain't a game to me.
But baby, you're my destiny.
I wanna take you, I wanna take you for a ride.
When playing video games, I like to think there's 4 pills: the Wake Pill, FNAF Pill, PT Pill, and Slender Pill. Let me explain them in 2 sentences. The Wake Pill: get rid of the threat, whether that be using a weapon or not. FNAF Pill: prevent the threat from hurting you. For example, locking some doors to stop a threat, not kill it. Slender Pill: escape from the threat, whether that be like running away from it, or hiding, etc. And then there's the PT Pill. It's about accepting the threat. Think of it kind of like those haunted house rides, or where you basically have no other choice but to experience what's going to happen to you in that intended experience. So you just kind of have to, accept it. This diagram isn't perfect, but it will help me in creating my video game. To give an example of what every pill includes, let me list off some games. So, for FNAF, I would say Five Nights at Freddy's, of course, Reanimated, and Buckshot Roulette. Buckshot Roulette is a weird one, so I'll talk about it a little bit later, since technically some people might debate it's not really a FNAF pill, but I'll get into that. I'll get into that later. For the PT pill, we of course have PT, also known as Playable Teaser, Doki Doki Literature Club, and I know this is a weird one, but a game about literally doing your taxes. For the Wake Pill, I would say it includes Alan Wake, Resident Evil, and Cry of Fear. Slender Pill includes Slender the Arrival, Amnesia the Dark Descent, and Outlast. Now, this is the part where I need to give a bit more context so that it's easier to understand. So let me explain them in detail. Slender Pill usually includes feelings of vulnerability, since you can't really attack the monster, you mainly focus on running away, and feelings of anxiety. Usually they contain gameplay that revolves around hiding, like for example, you could hide in a locker or under a table. There's a lot of things you could do which, could be considered FNAF Pill, and I'll get into that. Also, sometimes they do tend to have items to help escape, like for example, let's say, you flash a light at an enemy, well then you could basically run away from that enemy now. When it comes to the Wake Pill, usually they contain Decidophobia, because usually in those types of games you have to prioritize targets, so you have to decide which ones to shoot, and also these games tend to have limited ammo or limited inventory, so you have to really decide on what to take, what to do, how much should you do it. There's a lot of questions in your head. So they tend to have claustrophobia because usually when you're in an enclosed space, you're very limited in where you could run. They do this so you're basically forced to attack. Usually these games typically include guns or an explorable map. For the FNAF pill, they tend to give this feeling of distraite and also bring a bit of anxiety. Some of these games tend to just have you stay in one place, you know, kind of like FNAF or Buckshot Roulette. But mainly, it's just about preventing enemies from hurting you, which is why I think the whole stay in one place idea gets used a lot. If you kill the enemy, no more threat. If you run away from enemy, no more threat either. And again, this could be used in many ways, like in FNAF, you close doors, or, you know, you could always hide from any kind of monster or entity so they don't hurt you. So these games tend to require a certain way to prevent enemies, like in FNAF 2 you would have to flash a light at Foxy. For the PT pill, they're more about being a thriller, and usually they have some form of unpredictableness. It's more about the experience than the threat. Think of it kind of like a horror ride, like I said before. Usually they have psychological horror, so you should expect hallucinations to be a part of these games sometimes. So with these games, you never truly die, since it is more about the experience than the threat. Also, these games tend to be walking simulators, which, you know, is not for everyone, but if you're into those types of games, expect walking simulator horror games to have the PT pill behind them. Probably already spoiled it for you guys, but of course, Doki Doki Literature Club and a game about literally doing your taxes don't come off as horror games. They look perfectly fine, but they have a dark secret in them. Let's talk about combining. See, with the Wake and the FNAF pill, they're more about changing the threat, while the other two are about limiting you. That's something to keep in mind with this video. For the Wake and the FNAF pill, they both can be hard to combine, technically, kind of. Because when you get rid of an enemy, you're not preventing it. It's easy to mix both Wake and Slender pills, so how do you mix these? Well, like Lethal Company, it's more of a choice of what you want to do. So for example, you can go into a building, you can do that, but also you can just use the terminal. Also, some enemies don't die, but can be prevented, like the bracket. Think of it kind of like the Wake and the FNAF pill, fighting to get a turn. Okay, now we're on to a weird one. I said I would talk about this. Buckshot Roulette is a hard case to define. Is it really a mix of FNAF and Wake? Because see, you're not really getting rid of the dealer, you're just preventing him. But I mean, you do technically kill him, especially at the end of the game, but also not really because he comes back. Ugh! See, admittedly, these pills are a bit wonky to define, but in my opinion, it's a mix. Because you're basically killing him, getting rid of his items when you win, and also there's items to prevent him from hurting you anyways, so it's sort of like a mix of both. Here's the problem. Let's say in an alternate universe, if you killed the dealer, another enemy appears. But it has the exact same AI. It's literally the same game, but just with enemies that act the same way but look different. Technically it is just a Wake pill, since the dealer doesn't come back in this alternate universe game. This is the problem, but hey, it's okay. Definitions don't need to be perfect. It's like when people call something a Metroidvania. If you guys want, I'd recommend you guys watch Foxcade's video on this problem. It's a great watch. For the PT and Slender Pill, they usually go well together. However, they can have the same problem as the Wake and FNAF pill, where you have to figure out how to have one with the other when they can't really mix. I mean, they technically can. See, if you're running away from the threat, you can't really accept it. Much like with Lethal Company, they sort of provide both the Wake and FNAF pill depending on the situation, so do games with the Slender and PT pill. Outlast, one section will have a spooky jump scare that the game designers sort of force you in, and the other you're running away from some crazed lunatic. So think of the PT and the Slender pill fighting for a turn to get you. There is a way to truly mix them though. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is such a good example of mixing the PT and the Slender pill. It's a mix of run and hide with some walking simulator elements, but the main star is the sanity mechanic, which gives an interesting take for the PT pill. A lot of horror games tend to use these two pills, but why is that? I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's because they're really great at giving the player a horror experience, while the FNAF and Wake pill are more about the gameplay. Or maybe people just want to recreate Amnesia. The Slender pill technically is about gameplay too though, but you know what I mean. You're mainly just running and hiding away, which isn't a huge amount of gameplay compared to the FNAF and Wake pill. So expect there to be a mix of both, because most of the time they're usually together. Usually. Since the forced circle diagram can't really cross over well with other pills, I made two triple diagrams. Let's talk about this one first. You can see here, right here is Amnesia: The Bunker. Although, does it count to be in there? Is it a Wake pill? Amnesia: The Bunker technically counts as both Slender and FNAF pill. I know a lot of people will say, but it has a gun! But that doesn't mean it's a Wake pill. The Wake pill is more about getting rid of a threat. Most of the time your gun in this game only just makes the monster run away. Unless you consider killing rats. Or the boss fights.
You can't escape. No.
Yeah, see, this is why the diagram isn't the best. To give an example, let's say you're playing a platformer, but there's one small section of the game that has a puzzle in it. Is it now a puzzle platformer, even though most of it is platforming? But hey, it's really not that big of a deal. The diagram is more about the main focus. See, FNAF's main focus is on preventing the threat. It does have some PT elements, especially in the sequel, but that doesn't mean the PT pill is the main focus. But really, you could put any game anywhere, technically. For example, Amnesia: Dark Descent, you could say has a FNAF pill for being able to hide. I guess to be more specific, we could use something like this box to help us pinpoint where certain games could be, even if it still isn't that good. But anyways, let's continue. I am honestly confused. See, I really have not played every horror game, so please do help me in the comments if you feel like something fits in the Wake and the PT pill. I wish I could say more, but I can't. Where does that lead my game? Well, I would put it here with Buckshot Roulette. Okay, it actually deserves to be with Lethal Company. Yeah, this is one of those situations where technically it's hard to really define what pills your game has, just like FNAF, Amnesia, and Reanimated. See, I do plan to give the game some sort of Slender pill, but don't expect it to be the main focus. I only put it here with Buckshot Roulette because the main focus is to get rid of or prevent your opponent, especially since the game is going to have the player to pacify opponents as well. Speaking of features in my game, I might as well introduce what I will do with each pill. For the Slender pill, I was really inspired by Outlast. The fact that you have to push an object out of the way, find where you need to go, while 3 psychos chase and taunt you, has got to be the most stressful and anxiety-inducing thing ever. I won't focus on Slender pill too much, but Outlast really inspired me to put something like that in my game. For the FNAF pill, you already know. It has the same thing with Buckshot Roulette's battle system, and I am using that idea of pushing and pulling objects like Outlast. But I have been thinking of using the roll system in my game to prevent opponents as well. Lastly, you all know that this game has a Russian roulette battle system, and I have said on my itch.io devlogs that there will be times where you have to make choices in the story that could kill any enemies. Enough said for the Wake pill. This will help me so much not to lose focus on my game, because there's times where I'm like, ooh, I should do that, but then I'm like, oh, but then that ruins the pace of my game. I'm sorry, PT pill, but I really don't want to focus on you for the pace of my game. Also, I was thinking about adding more Slender Pill type of gameplay, but it would be just too much for me, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. My main focus is on the FNAF and Wake Pill. And hey, if that interests you, then please check out my beta in the comments below. I think you'll enjoy it. Then when you're done, check out my devlog. Alright, see you soon.